Spoiler, they never speak again. Oh my gosh, yeah. They never talk again. Never speak again. You'll be fine. I felt perverted because I was like, is this supposed to be like gay? Like a lot of game. A lot of hustle. I don't care for a period piece. You can make it real raunchy and sexify it like Bridgerton. Still don't care. That movie was so boring. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. I'm here to talk to you about more life. Just kidding. We're gonna talk about some movies, specifically movies, but also specifically movies that I've seen semi recently in the recent past. I love movies. I love a good movie. I love a bad movie. I love the act and the ritual of going to the cinema. I don't think it really takes an evolved mind to enjoy a movie. Last you saw me, I was in a wig that was truly so heinous. I should have gotten jail time. I was paying for some kind of sin, like genuinely some kind of crime and sin back then because it ripped out my edges. Ripped out my edges, and no joke, I am bald now. I don't know shit about shit when it comes to movies, but what I do know is how to run my mouth and flap my jaw about things that I do and see and feel and touch and taste, and that's what I'm gonna be doing today. I'm really gonna try all of these kind of like comprehensive reviews and analyses. Don't have spoilers. I'm gonna try to not give spoilers, but I do need to give a communal reminder. This is my channel, my rules. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I was the kind of kid that did not care about spoilers. It's not like, spoiler! Whether I was going to see the film or the TV show, that was fine. If I wasn't gonna see it, I really didn't care. You could spoil it all you wanted from me. So I don't know. I don't care about spoilers. I'm also just, unless it's like a crazy plot twist. My friend was telling me about the movie The Sixth Sense that I want to watch, and then they were gonna fucking spoil it because there's like a plot twist. I was like, don't fucking tell me. Like, unless there's a crazy plot twist, I don't really care that much about spoilers. I was that kid that would kind of like Wikipedia the entire plot of a movie before, during, and sometimes even after. So if I spoil something, you are gonna be okay. I'm gonna hold your hand when I say, like, you're gonna be okay. We're all gonna be okay. But I don't think there's any spoilers in the notes that I wrote. Also, these movies, most people have seen. I think it's like a very Gen Z thing. Like, I think Gen Z is finally like discovering cinema, and like it's just want to like reconnect with cinema, and they delve into like different genres and things like that. It's fucking letterboxd. But I'm definitely up there. I have a Google Doc of like books and movies that I want to get through this year. I want to get through like the classics and like read the classics and like watch the classics and like be informed on the classics. So you probably have seen most of these movies. I wouldn't put it past you. This is truly just me playing a game of girl trying to be normal and catch up. I've chosen about 8 or 9 movies to talk about. I did take notes and virtually script this hoe, because if not, I would genuinely talk about each movie for about like 15 minutes. And then be astonished and really frustrated at the fact that I have 2.5 hours of footage to edit, which I don't want to do. I don't want to do that. New intro done by very talented illustrator Molly Glass. We worked on this honestly last year, actually, because I thought I was gonna make like a 2025. Like, I was gonna take January off and then come back in February. Did not happen, but we worked on this for a while, and just want to say thank you, Molly, because it turned out amazing. I'm really happy with the way that it came out, and I think it's gonna set the tone for every video really nicely. It's really cute. I think it represents me really well. The colors are really beautiful. I'm just extremely happy. I'm gonna leave all of Molly's information down below just in case you want to follow them, check out their work. I literally found them on TikTok. Or hired them. You should hire them. Okay, we're gonna start off. Okay, the first movie we're gonna start off. Okay, Rope is a movie that came out in 1948, also known as When Gays Kill, When Homos Slay, Killer Gays, and it introduces you to the notion that murder is a privilege, but only for few. It's a psychological crime thriller film from director Alfred Hitchcock. It's one of his more experimental films because of the way that it's shot. It's sleek, it's chic, but it's also loosely inspired by the Leopold and Loeb case, which was a very real 1924 murder where two wealthy college students from the University of Chicago killed a teenage boy just for the purpose of seeing if they could get away with it. That's that's it. They were really obsessed with Nietzsche's concept of the Superman, this like morally superior motif or like notion of a man that just transcends superiority. Basically, they thought they were too smart and too special for consequences. The film follows two people, Brandon and Philip, two upper class former students who strangle their friend David with a piece of rope in the very first scene. There's no real motive. They just want to prove that they can commit the perfect murder. Brandon is the very smug ringleader who sees this all as this like very intellectual and elegant exercise. His sidekick, Philip, boyfriend, is anxious and guilt-ridden and starts raveling almost immediately. Like genuinely opening scene, the man's body is still warm, the rope is still around this poor man's neck, and as soon as like his body goes limp, he's like, ugh. Literally, as this poor man's heart stops, he has a look on his face and he's like, oh, what did I just do? Instead of hiding the crime, which they kind of do, they lean into the arrogance of it all. They also decide to throw a dinner party that night, same night, a few hours after. They live in a very swanky, nice, idyllic, like Manhattan penthouse, and they stuff his body in a wooden chest. They also use this chest as the buffet table that the guests take all their food from. They invite David's dad, his fiance, her ex-boyfriend, who also happens to be David's best friend, plus their old damn it. I was so close to saying that in like one good line. Their old philosophy teacher, Rupert. Rupert, as well as this concept from Nietzsche, is kind of the main thing of the film. You hear the words inferior and superior multiple times, and it's Rupert who teaches this notion to the two young men in the first place. But he, even though being an ambassador of sorts, is the moral compass of this film. He's the one who casually suggests that murder could even be justified for the right kind of person. Brandon latches onto this idea and took it way too seriously. Damn it, I don't want to spoil it. I'm gonna spoil it. Towards the end, when like no one's gonna be here, they're like, bitch, we don't want you to spoil it. It is Rupert who finds David's body. There was like no fight. He was like, I'm gonna open that chest and I hope I'm crazy. I'm like, you're not even gonna like Philip has a gun. I'm like, there was no tug of war. It's Rupert who finds the body. Brandon's like, this was kind of spoon fed, from you. Like, you kind of planted the seed. And Rupert's like, I did absolutely no such thing. You definitely twisted my words. This is not what I meant. And even if I kind of was intense in my delivery, I absolutely did not mean for you to go and kill your colleague and like one of my students, right? I think the dichotomy, the juxtaposition of it all is kind of ludicrous because, and I don't see how anyone could side with Rupert because he was talking about we should have a stab day. We should have like a slit your wrist, or like shoot and kill someone day. He was going into it very intensely to the point where I think David's father, I'm pretty sure, was like, this is all incredibly strange and morbid conversation. It's also not ethical and like really more like morally bankrupt. Although I will say I have a theory that Brandon is the one who orchestrated this entire thing. I think Rupert went along with it because as Brandon's lover, he will do whatever he says. I think Brandon was the one who was not really so obsessed with the idea of like this superiority and inferiority, but I think he was more obsessed with Rupert and this notion and wanted to, I think he really idolized him and wanted to do something that he thought would gain a lot of I don't know, like respect, admiration, praise, and I think he really did this mainly for Rupert. That's my theory. So now Rupert's at the party. He's enjoying cocktails, engaging in conversation while the body of one of his former students is literally just a few feet away. Slowly, he begins to realize that something's just a little bit off. He asks about David, when is he coming? And David and Philip, mainly Philip, begin to crack almost instantaneously. They don't do a very good job at hiding or acting, and Rupert grows more and more suspicious at their body language, but also inconsistencies. Like during the story, Philip's tweaky ass is like, I never killed a chicken. I never killed a chicken. Brandon's telling like a story and it involves for a second Philip killing it like a chicken, and Philip, who's tweaking out, he's like, I never killed a chicken. I never did that. How dare you say that about me? I never did that. And Rupert, who's seen him, I think Philip grew up on a farm, if I'm pretty sure. And Rupert, who's seen him kill a chicken, is like, what's going on, buddy? You okay? That's all I'm gonna give for the people who don't want it to be spoiled. Basically, Rupert just tries his best to unravel and get to the meat and potatoes, you know, really figure out who done it and just exactly where is David. Now, I decided to watch Rope on a whim. In all honesty, I saw a clip on TikTok. I saw an edit, I think. What I didn't know is how kind of like dense contextually this film is. Let's get into it. One of the interesting things about Rope that I noticed almost immediately, but is like very intentionally done throughout the film, is the way that it's shot. Hitchcock designed it to feel like one single continuous take. Obviously didn't have the technology to film full-length film in one go back then, so he used a series of long takes, which was, I think, lasted about 10 minutes. I think that's how long a film reel takes. I don't know. And he would hide the cuts and try to make them as smooth as possible by kind of like panning the camera, going behind someone's jacket or something like that. And then, you know, you would see a new person, new dialogue, but it feels very, very smooth. It's a technical stunt, and as a viewer, you're aware of what's happening, but thematically, it works really well. And that wasn't done, you know, during that time, 1940, when I have such a skewed perception of like time, which is really bad. When I hear about people in the 1800s like going to university and getting their masters, I don't know if it's just me, but like I still assume that like people were cavemen back then, like it was like real ooga booga vibes, and like I was a history kid growing up. It still just kind of blows my mind. Whatever. The point is that the camera never gives you a break. You're supposed to feel like you're getting roped in to the nonsense of these two gentlemen more and more and more, which you definitely are. It's almost voyeuristic, but not in like a sexy way. It feels like you're intruding on something that you kind of didn't really want to watch in the first place, and that like now you can't leave. But also what it is, I'm gonna tell you something right now, is very, very gay. The man who wrote the screenplay, I'm blanking on his name, wanted to intentionally code it for it to be gay. Obviously, in the 1940s, in the late 40s, making something like overtly gay was a total no-no. But there's lots of innuendos and there's lots of undertones. I think people definitely still got it. Almost immediately, reviewers called it gay. They were like, "This is gay." Some cities banned it. Like it was insane. Brandon and Philip are obviously a couple. They live together. They finish each other's sentences, and their dynamic has all the hallmarks of a couple. Yeah, like I said, I had no thematic or like historical context when I decided to watch this, so it was quite a pleasure to find out that it's actually quite dense and like very, very rich. The opening sequence is gay, okay? Like the opening sequence, I think you can even watch it on YouTube. David has a rope against, like on his neck. It looks, it looks gay. Like the three of them were in an embrace. So me watching with like literally no context, I felt perverted because I was like, is this supposed to be like gay? Like, am I the weirdo for immediately reading this as like super gay? I'm not, because it, you know, it's intentionally very, very gay. It is. So, I forget that shit was. It's not funny. Whoa, I forget that shit was not sweet back then. And like, if you, whoa, I'm so sorry. It's totally not funny. I was talking to this about my friend when I was watching Portrait of Lady on Fire. I was like, why couldn't they be together, girl? Because of things like the Hays Code. I forget that shit was not sweet back then. And if people thought you were gay, you were like chemically castrated, and like life was really not good for you. Things were not good for you. A lot of emotional volatility in the film. It just feels like a lover's quarrel, I think, which kind of like goes back to what I was saying, to where it feels voyeuristic. I think this film did a good job at like capturing those really intimate moments that were completely removed from the subtext of cold-blooded murder, and still kind of made it feel really tense. So that's fun. I love the Technicolor. It really drew me in. I am like old movie phobic. Like I do discriminate. If you tell me about a movie and you're like, oh, like it's 19 fit. I was surprised that I watched this, but it's really simple. It's a really fun experience. It feels really modern. It's a film that's done really, really well. Obviously, duh, because it feels so ahead of its time, and it was ahead of its time. Also, I love like a transatlantic. I love the way those freaks talked back then. The dialogue almost felt like choreographed in like a really fun sing-songy way. So okay, next I have Trainspotting. Trainspotting is a black comedy drama, certainly not a thriller, and it follows the lives of a group of young heroin addicts living in Edinburgh, Edinburgh, Edinburgh. The film's protagonist, his name is Mark Renton. He's a disillusioned, intelligent, and quite self aware narrator who's both seduced by and critical of the lifestyle that he leads. I like Renton. I like a self aware antagonist, protagonist, whatever. It really doesn't matter what the character is indulging in or engaging in for me. I think when self awareness is ingrained in their ethos, it makes it a lot more tolerable, to be honest, especially in something as direct and like no nonsense and like very serious and like life threatening as addiction. So I can appreciate that. From the beginning, he really rejects the promises of modern life, jobs, consumerism, family in favor of heroin, which offers him some kind of transcendence. His very, like, I didn't even know this, but like his monologue at the beginning, or like his spiel at the beginning of the film, choose life, choose a job, choose whatever. I found it very funny. Kind of mirrors that sentiment. He has really close friends in a really tight knit group, but they're all dysfunctional, and it plays into like a very dysfunctional, volatile dynamic. The film is really fun to watch. It kind of unfolds in these like sporadic, episodic bursts, which really kind of like mimics the chaotic rhythm of addiction. We follow Renton as he goes through overdoses, he goes through detoxes, he relapses. One of the most famous scenes shows him sinking into the carpet after an overdose, and it slips into this really, like, I was gonna say fun, it's not fun, this very, like, surreal Red Velvet Coffin as Perfect Day by Lou Reed plays. And it's a moment that captures both the seduction, but also the horror of addiction and drug use. I like Renton because he tries to get clean. I do think he has well intentions. He moves to London, he gets an actual job, and he starts to build something that mimics a stable life. He gets back in contact with his old friends. They kind of like force their way back into his life. The climax revolves around a heroin deal that promises to change their lives. After they cash in, Renton swears to like leave them all behind and like leave this behind. I think he's at this point he's super jaded. He's really frustrated at the fact that he almost feels kind of stuck in his life, can't progress in this way. Something happens, and I think Renton really sees his friends or his former friends for who they are. The film ends with this monologue that he regurgitated in the beginning, but it's reworked into a hollow, ironic echo of the very values he once mocked. I really quickly saw why this movie is kind of considered like iconic. I would see GIFs all through Tumblr, okay? All through Tumblr, and I get it now. I will say, I get it. The film is visually hyperactive. It's very surreal. It sucks you in almost immediately. Really dynamic scenes are like jumpy, they're chaotic, they're unpredictable. Like, we're 1 minute we're going super, super fast, the next we're going like super duper duper slow. And it's like diving back, he has to go back into the toilet for some drugs that he accidentally shit out because he was having like projectile diarrhea, and then like the toilet dives into like we literally go into like the toilet bowl, like the nasty toilet bowl full of like poo-poo toilet water. When you start hearing like the nihilistic fodder that the protagonist starts spewing, I think you immediately realize like why this is a film that's like loved by a lot of younger people, particularly men. I feel like men really like this movie. I don't know, when I start hearing like all that fucking nonsense about like choosing nothing over everything and like why nothing matters, immediately I'm like, okay, this is boy movie. Like, this is boy movie, boy notion. But it's obvious that his rejection of mainstream life, his refusal to choose life, is indicative of his environment, his socioeconomic status. He's poor, he's working class, he's living in Scotland, and coming of an age in the aftermath of Thatcherism. What's Thatcherism, you may ask? I'll tell you. Thatcherism is a form of British conservative ideology named after conservative party leader, say it with me guys, Margaret fucking Thatcher. During this time, government intervention was really reduced. there was an increase in inequality, there was an increase in unemployment, the financial market was not regulating, like it was it was bleak. And so heroin isn't only an escape, it's like a very blatant and albeit dangerous rebellion of a society that's already done away with him. I think it also has a lot to say about manhood, kind of like that repressed, like 70s, like, ugh, that's scary. Like stunted, really violent and oppressive kind of manhood that inflicts characters like Begbie. None of these men know how to emote and process what comes with their lifestyle in an important way, so they express and they cope in everything comes out in a really, weird way, whether it's violence, whether it's addiction, whether it's avoidance, whether it's sex. Really fun film. I was like, why didn't I watch this sooner? It's really enjoyable. I liked it. I don't know what else to say about that. Angelina Jolie's first husband is in it. They were also in a movie called Hacks. I think I mentioned this in like a media video from last year because I love bad movies. And me and my roommate one night watched Hacks, and his face for some reason is so distinct. When I saw him, I was like, oh my god, Angelina Jolie. They got married when they were like in their early 20s, which is fucking nuts. Okay, next movie, it's Paid in Full. Paid in Full is a Black American classic. I am a little bit ashamed that I just now saw it recently, like for the first time in like adulthood. Paid in Full tells a true inspired story of Harlem in the 1980s, and it focuses on the rise and fall of Ace, a young man who escapes poverty and crime by building a drug empire. Ace starts off as a humble delivery boy working at the dry cleaners and quickly becomes immersed in the world of drug dealing through his childhood friends. Mitch. Nope. 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 No. Mitch and Rico. I will say he did like try his hardest to abstain at first. He was like, nah, like I'm not trying to do that. What put him in it? I'm gonna tell you right this second. One of his very wealthy clients named Lulu leaves a pouch, a bag, a portion, I don't know, of coke in his pants pocket, and when Ace comes back to his place to return it, he's like, nah, keep it. And when Ace sells it unintentionally but still very, very quickly, he makes $100 just like that, which he doesn't even make in a singular pay period at the dry cleaners. So he's like, wait, I just made $100. And in the 80s, Harlem in the 80s, that's a big bill. There was like a 20, like someone put a 20 down and they said that was a big bill, but you have to, we have to think about different time. Now, unfortunately, the world's gonna end. I saw a tweet that says, we're all, I saw a tweet of like the Selena Gomez Oreos, which fucking dumbest phrase that's ever come out of my mouth. Someone tweeted, do you think we'll remember this kind of stuff when we're burning when we're cooking squirrels across barrels of fire? And I found that very, very funny because, oh boy. But yeah, different time. Now $100 kind of means nothing, unfortunately, but back then that was a lot of money. The plot follows Ace's transformation from an ambitious street hustler to a powerful kingpin, alongside Mitch, who is very cautious, he's very loyal, and Rico, who is a little bit more volatile, very reckless, very violent. Ace navigates the dangerous drug trade, gaining wealth and status. But success brings tension, mistrust, and a whole lot of tragedy. The film chronicles Ace's ascent as he balances friendship, loyalty, and survival, all while trying to keep his personal life intact. As the drug business grows, stakes escalate, betrayal, paranoia, and violence become all but unavoidable. I wrote here, ultimately Paid in Full is a story about the seductive allure of money and access, but also power and privilege in an environment where opportunity is very scarce, and the line between friend and enemy has to blur. A lot of iconic quips and scenes in this film, including Mitch's legendary little monologue. I love the game. I love the hustle. I love the game. I love the hustle. I love the game. I love the hustle. Mitch's monologue meant a lot to me. I really liked it. And I feel like it explains almost like the entirety of the film and like the crux. I saw it not just as a declaration of pride, but as a window into the psychology of young men who've been taught that the only path to success, respect, and identity is one that's constantly endangering their life. In Mitch's world, success isn't measured by stability or longevity, it's measured by how much you're seen, how much you're feared, and how fast you can get it. The hustle becomes not just a job, but a form of self worth. But what makes the monologue tragic is that Mitch knows what he could lose and exactly what he's up against, which is bigger than it's bigger than him, it's bigger than Rico, it's bigger than Ace, it's bigger than all three of them combined. And he's aware of the cost: incarceration, betrayal, death, even, but still chooses to, wake up each day and willingly play. I wrote here that the most vicious thing is that that's the cycle. Each time someone like Mitch dies or disappears, the community mourns, but also waits for the next young man to step up and take his place. The reverence doesn't disrupt the cycle, it sustains it. Mitch's monologue expresses how deeply internalized this logic is, and how the desire to be loved by your environment can lead you straight into its most dangerous roles and functions.
Yeah, you know a nigga got dough. A nigga could leave the league. But if I leave, the fans still gonna love me, man?
Also, very obviously, it's not just a crime drama, it's a social commentary on very systemic and aggressive and like merciless poverty. The movie is based on a true story, and it was based on like an actual trio. I've read about all of them. They all started selling drugs at like 12. Nevertheless, this movie was great. I really enjoyed it. Every single time Wood Harris would come onto film, I'd be like, I would like visually salivate, like, ha! Needs that. I think tall men are natural born sinners and freak me out. But for him, we can make some arrangements. We can make some exceptions. I'm crazy. I'm fucking crazy. And he was just built like, if I was a man, that's exactly how I'd want to be built. Yeah, just like lanky, like kind, like, of course, needs that. I needs that. But great, no notes. I really like the parallels in the film with Scarface too. Watched Grand Budapest Hotel for the first time a few weeks ago. I went home. We're gonna be swiftly moving. Not even like an actual portion, because that movie was so boring. I don't have no notes. There's no notes. I can't make any notes if I didn't like it. Boring as S. We're gonna move on. Movie called The Double. The Double is based on a book by Dostoevsky. What is that? His 1846 novella. And this movie follows Simon James, who's a painfully meek office worker whose life begins to unravel when a new employee, who's named James Simon, arrives. James Simon looks exactly like Simon James. James and Simon look exactly alike. However, James is everything Simon is not. He's confident, he's charming, he's socially agile, he climbs up like the corporate ladder really, really quickly, and he's beloved by the same people that ignore Simon James entirely. Simon is invisible in every sense of the word. It's like really, really sad. It evokes like a real sense of sadness. His boss doesn't even know his name. The security guard treats him like a stranger, even though he clocks in 5 days a week every single time. He's hopelessly in love with a coworker, Hannah, who barely even registers his presence. His life is defined by routine, humiliation, and emotional stasis, until James Simon shows up and starts not only succeeding where Simon fails, but actively replacing him. James Simon takes credit for Simon James's work, seduces Hannah, and begins to assert total dominance over Simon's life. He literally flat out blackmails them. There are certain points where people confuse the two and treat Simon James really, really, really nicely, thinking that he is James Simon. And he doesn't even seize the opportunity and reap the benefits of being a very well liked and admired person. He He's like literally socially inept. Like, I'm sure it doesn't even cross his mind, honestly. Film escalates in surreal, paranoid fashion. No one else seems to notice that Simon and James look identical. No one else seems to realize that lines are getting blurred. It's as if the world is conspiring to make Simon disappear. Simon grows unhinged, desperate to reclaim some sense of identity and power. And in the end, Simon's only able to disrupt the pattern by doing something bold and very self sacrificial, an act of violence that finally forces the world to look at him, even if it's just for a moment. Yeah, the double is very Kafka-esque, but what it also just is like really creepy. It's steeped in this like oppressive, bureaucratic surrealism. It's not like a period piece. Like, it doesn't feel like it's like from the past, but it doesn't feel like it's from the future. It's really freaking weird. There's like the set design and like the setting, just like it really does a good job at making you feel like really creepy. There's like dimly lit hallways, there's very grim industrial interiors to the point where like it looks dirty, but it's just like a sea of like brown and beige, and it's all really unsettling. Like a boss figure that almost feels omnipresent. His name is the Colonel, I'm pretty sure. Hats off to the cinematographer because he did a really good job. I think it's shot in a way that like everything feels like really shadowy and creepy and suffocating, which gives you a glimpse of like what the protagonist Simon feels like every single day of his life, which is insane. At its core, the double is about alienation and identity. Simon is a man who's unfortunately so passive and so self-erased that even when someone who comes up and is like literally identical to him, like no one even notices, which is unfortunate. James Simon isn't just some quirky plot device. He is a manifestation of Simon James's deepest fear, being forgotten, being forgettable, being erased. I think the film explores how fragile and performative identity is. James succeeds not because he's better than Simon, but because he performs like he's better. He doesn't even do the job right. He doesn't even know what they do. But on the flip side, Simon is punished for the way that he is, for his shyness, for his timidity, even though he does James Simon's job. He does it better. He pines after the same woman. I said a bleak reflection of how modern systems reward personality over substance, and it's really not about, half the time it's not about your performance on the job or how well you can do the job. It's about how likable you can seem and come across, which I think is a very relevant thing, especially in corporate. This movie was great. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I loved the lighting in this film. There's a sequence where Simon plays a song from the jukebox. I think it's done really, really nicely. The music is really nice as well. Really good performance done by Jesse Eisenberg. I think he does a phenomenal job at playing two separate people, even though they were him and they looked like him. It's really believable, and you really do feel the juxtaposition of these two characters, even from the way Simon like holds his hands like by his like body and in like a really like gauche and unsure way, and like James is just like, he takes the world on like with this stride. He's really direct and confident, and he walks with his head up, and you know, he doesn't miss a beat. This was back when he was riding that Social Network hype all the way to the moon, and people found him very like boyish and still very charming. Typecast king. I do think he gets casted for like the same role in every single movie, but he does it well, so he's got my vote. Yeah, with another film that I'm going to talk about later, and with this film might be like best film of all time status. Once again, I can't wait for a year to pass so I can like forget it and watch it, and it's going to be new and fresh again. I cried like a baby during this very specific scene. The next movie is Tu Mamá Tambien. Yeah, I watched it finally. Yes. Yes! Follows the story of two teenage boys, Julio and Tenoch, who embark on a spontaneous road trip across Mexico with an older woman named Luisa. On the surface, it's a coming-of-age story about sex, friendship, and freedom, but beneath that, it's a quiet portrait of a country in transition and a youth culture drifting between immaturity and self-awareness. The both of them meet Luisa at this like really high-profile, nice party, or I think it's a wedding. I think it's a party. It's like a political. I don't know. I don't remember. But they really want to jazz Luisa up, and they're like, I think she like just moved there, and they're like, oh my god, let's like bring you to this beach that we really love, like this beach that's called, and you think I would make a note of it, Heaven's Mouth. They're like, oh my god, you have to come to Heaven's Mouth with us. It's far, but like we'll make it a road trip, like we'll make it fun, like whatever. And then something happens, and Luis is like, you know what? Let's go to Heaven's Mouth, boys. Yeah, Julio comes from a left-leaning middle-class household, while Denok is privileged. He's a privileged son of a prominent political family. Despite their differences, they're bonded by laziness, lust, and adolescent arrogance. As the three of them travel further from the city and deeper into rural Mexico, tensions simmer beneath the surface. There's class resentment, there's sexual insecurity and inexperience, there's jealousy and identity, and it all begins to unravel. After the trip, the boys drift apart. Spoiler, they never speak again. Oh my gosh, yeah. They never talk again. Never speak again. You'll be fine. You will be fine. Oh my gosh, one little spoiler. You will be fine. And the film ends on a very quiet and melancholic note, and you're like, literally, what the F? Oh, this is good. I didn't write this. The road trip is over, and so is the naivete that once held them together. That's good. This movie is very like aesthetically pleasing. There's like long takes that linger on for like a little bit too long. There's very natural lighting, really like shaky handheld movement from the camera. To where it feels like a documentary, like the sense of realism that comes from this movie is there's a narrator throughout the entirety of the film who provides like a very dry and detached voiceover for what's going on between Julio and Tanok, but also he interrupts their kind of like story with details about Mexico's cultural and political climate. I think these moments really kind of like broaden the scope of the film and give you a very importantly bird's eye kind of view to where you see that they're the center of this film, but they're not really the center of this universe, this like little like fun, sexy something they have going on. But the three of them, they're quite privileged to be moving through what is like a really like a little bit more of like a tense cultural and political climate, kind of like realer social reality. But still, like, you know, boys will be boys, like teenagers will be teenagers. In the midst of that, they care about like sex and weed and like each other's girlfriends and like whatever. We have adolescence, we have culture, we have class. The S scenes in this film are like very weird, but they're like, I think they're really real and like indicative of like teenage boys who genuinely do not know what the F they're doing. But I think it shows how harrowing sex can be in the way that it can puncture a fantasy. This is me trying to not spoil the effing movie, because in the end it kind of like really tests the two boys' masculinity and unravels like their really like machismo perceptions and like senses of masculinity. This movie was so fun. And I really enjoyed it. I still think even with the narrator, there's like a big chunk of like cultural and political context that if you're just not privy to, like, I think having it just enriches the viewing process a little bit more, but it's still so fun. Like, it's like eye candy, so fun, loves it, gots to have it. Throughout the entirety of me watching this movie, I was trying to decide who's more Bayfy, and it's without a doubt, don't even know why I even had to ask myself, Gael Bernal. Yummy. Ooh, it's Bernal. Okay, 3 more movies. Oh my goodness, wow. Next is one called Paprika. I watched this quite a while ago. So there's lots of holes. Baby doesn't know really what, I kind of forgot all about this and I did not write notes. This movie revolves around a revolutionary device called DC Mini, and it allows therapists to enter a patient's dreams. It's supposed to be meant for psychiatric healing. There's a project held by Dr. Chiba, who is a cool and composed scientist who moonlights as her dream world alter ego Paprika, who is a vivid, mischievous red-haired woman who guides these patients through very surreal mental landscapes. A prototype of the DC Mini gets stolen, and dreams kind of become this thing that collapse into real life, which, whoa, so scary. Hey. And people, including the researchers, become possessed by like hallucinatory dream logic, like babbling nonsense, leaping out of windows. Like early in the movie, like a little man jumped out this window And I still really didn't know what the film was about. I was freaked. I was like, oh, what's going on? What is going on? So Dr. Chiba as her and Paprika kind of like set to, there's a dream thief, like there's like a thief who's like you know, behind all this. He tracks the culprit and finds a prototype. It's also like a bigger system at play. It's not just the culprit, obviously, who's, it's not just like the dream thief who's behind all this. It's like a much bigger system and body. That's it. Oh my goodness, wow. I don't remember what this movie is about. Visually, Paprika is insane. It's colorful, it's sporadic. It really, really does keep you on your toes. And realism, but also surrealism. I'm realizing that a lot of these movies are like surrealist. Why? What does that mean for me? Oh my god. Watched a David Lynch film recently. Freaked me the F out. Kind of didn't like it. Freaked me out. It was Mulholland Drive. And it's really exaggerated. I think it was really fascinating how the animation style and like certain like scene choices, like the parade scene, it can feel joyful, but it can also feel kind of like grotesque, and it can feel really unsettling. And apparently this like majorly influenced Inception. So taking off those nachos. As someone who doesn't dream often, therefore doesn't really think about dreams, I think the ways in which the patients in this program were using dreams as a form of healing, kind of like things in the subconscious, really come to play. And there is just a almost like fictional environment where that is just like a lot more conducive to healing. By the end of the movie, I do remember feeling really appreciative of the ability to dream, and that's all I had. That's all I have. It was one of those movies that I finished it and I was like, okay, okay, like I got it, but I didn't get much from it, but I got it, you know what I mean? And I liked it, but I was like, okay. If you were to watch that fried, whoa. I watched it on YouTube, and there were so many comments being like,
I took acid and I watched this and it changed my life. And it was like the quickest hour and 30 minutes ever, and it changed. And I don't know how life's gonna be the same after this.
next is Janet Planet. I love this movie. How would you describe this movie? So, set in rural western Massachusetts during the summer of 1991, Janet Planet follows 11-year-old Lacey, who lives with her single mother, Janet, who is a holistic acupuncturist. The film unfolds through Lacey's perspective as she navigates the complexity of her relationship with her mom, and she observes all the rotating adults that seem to, you know, enter their lives. Janet then reconnects with Regina, who's an old friend and member of this like theater troupe, kind of culty, who's led by a man named Avi, who's a very spiritual, charismatic spiritual leader. Regina moves in with Janet and Lucy because she breaks up with Avi. As the summer progresses, Lacey experiences physical illness and emotional turmoil, which just reflects her internal struggles. The film ends with Lacey observing her mommy dancing at a community event, which symbolizes a shift in their relationship and Lacey's perception of her mom, almost falling out of love with your mom, but also Lacey growing up and becoming more independent. This was amazing. This was freaking amazing. I love movies. I love when women make movies. The cinematography was so relaxed and quiet. Like you really see the world through Lacey's view, like a very juvenile, underdeveloped. I'm a million percent translucent, which is kind of scary. Maybe I'm a ghost. This movie has mommy issue written all over it. It's really well done. It is pretty slow at first. I think the only thing that did keep me throughout the beginning was just how like beautifully everything was shot, but it is pretty slow. I really liked the relationship between Lacey and Janet. I think it was really sweet. I think they're really close, obviously, but I think Janet's also quite dysfunctional, and you see all the ways in which she kind of has her own shit to work out. Because it's like, why are you consulting an 11-year-old for like really deeply personal things that like maybe you should work this out yourself. Maybe you should get like a homegirl, you know, choices. This movie made me kind of really want to slow down. I thought about pace a lot. My face is looking more and more warped and there's a weird buzzing sound. So I think that's I think that's cue from something out there somewhere to move on and hurry up. This movie made me cry. I cried like a baby. Wah, 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 wah. Really, really good. If I had letterboxd or whatever the fuck, I'd rate it 5 stars. Come. Let's all come and sit down. Okay. Lastly, we have Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Yeah. Portrait of a freaking Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Bro. I am staunchly period piece phobic. I don't care for a period piece. You can put all the S you want in it. I think a lot of it has to do with the like really annoying and seemingly inaccessible dialogue. I just kind of find all of it insufferable. I don't like it. You can put all the S in it. You can make it real raunchy and sexify it like Bridgerton. Still don't care. The only period piece thing I like, because I haven't watched a lot, is Pride and Prejudice. And my friend, when I was in college, had to like really convince me and sit me down to watch that film. I always knew I had to watch this film, okay? This film. I knew it was gonna happen. I knew this rendezvous, this marriage would come one day, you know? I knew it. Oh my god, my Amazon package is an ew. Do you wanna see what I got? Hello? What? Yeah, really good. I absolutely see why this was called like one of the greatest movies of all time. 1000% agree. But also, I think this film was done so so insanely well. It's so dense, it's so rich that you could have a course on this film. You could have a class on this film. It could be literally all semester long. It's set in 18th century France, and it follows Marianne, a painter who's commissioned to create a wedding portrait of Eloise. She's from, oh my goodness, hang on. I did like a whole dive on it because she's like in the gentry. And I was like, what the F is a gentry? And I literally paused for like a half hour and I was looking up what the gentry is. They're just like rich, affluent families who owned a lot of land and had just like privilege back then. Yeah, that's it. That's the gentry. She has to paint Miss Eloise's wedding portrait. Miss Eloise is getting chipped off and married to a random man from, where is he from again? It doesn't matter. It actually really doesn't matter. Eloise was gonna like be like a nun or something. I'm forgetting all of these names technically. Like it's like what is it called? Because of what happened to Eloise's sister, her mom keeps like super tight reins on her and she's very restricted. But she's also very defiant in the fact that she has to marry this man. And she gave the last painter hell and refused to be painted. So her mom has now instructed Marianne to paint Eloise without her knowledge. Marianne pretends to be her walking companion, but secretly she's studying her. So she can paint her for the portrait. As the days pass, the dynamic between the two women shift. Their relationship moves from polite distance to intense mutual recognition. Eloise eventually consents to be painted not just as an object but as a collaborator. Their bond deepens into a very passionate love affair, unfolding within the boundaries of an isolated seaside estate and a fleeting window of opportunity and freedom. I think it would actually be a lot more sensible there's like a million video essays on a Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and there's lots of explanations and like analyses onto why it's such an amazing film. And so I'm gonna let the people who have done probably like hours and hours of research and can word the film and the way it breaks everything down well. I'm gonna let them do their job, and I'm just going to say I loved this film. Duh. Like fork found in kitchen, right? Almost little to no men in the film. There's like little to no male dialogue in the film. It's really, I think it takes the phrase female gaze to an entirely new level. Really shows us the ways in which other women, we as women, see each other. There's like a really rich and beautiful B plot with her. I think her name is Chloe. What is that girl's name? Sophie. I said Chloe. Oh my goodness. For the few days that Eloise's mom is gone, they create like a really beautiful like matriarchal utopia. Class is something that you're reminded of frequently throughout the film, but in this point, I think class really like just dissipates. And I forget that actress's name. I think her first name is definitely Adele. This being the last film that she does before she retired from the acting industry as a whole is amazing. The last sequence with her is amazing. I really thought about the technicality when it comes to like not only art but painting. Skilled Marianne was. Marianne was so skilled and so talented. I love that we get to see the painting progress and we get to see all of like the revisions and like all the versions. This is a masterpiece, like genuinely masterpiece. I think this film has changed my life. I watched this just a few weeks ago, and I'm really not a fan of rewatching movies like super often. I need at least a year, but I think I'm definitely gonna rewatch it again in the summer. I watched a slew of video essays on this film. That was really fun, learning about like certain theories on like camera placement and the way like it depicted like a character's perception and like her analysis of them. That was really fun. I think that's it. I don't have a letterboxd. I track all of the TV shows and movies that I watch in a notebook. I can barely keep up with my Goodreads, but I'm thinking of moving to Storygraph. Don't have a letterboxd though. Any movie works you have would be greatly appreciated. I think it'd be really fun to do this in a few months, like probably like end of summer. Like we can go through all the movies that we watched throughout the summer. That's it. That's all I have. Thank you for watching if you still are. Peace and love and good tidings. Goodbye.